Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of That Sounds Fun, The Seasons. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm so happy to be with you today. Listen, we are finishing spring and starting summer. We are right there. And today on the show, we are going to answer the question, how do I change seasons well? Today on the show, y'all are going to be so happy because the Prince is back. If you've been around here for a while, you know Craig Thompson, or CRAIGLES, or the Prince, as we call him around the office. He used to be part of our media team here at AFD Inc. But last fall, he and his wife, Hannah, moved to Indiana. Sad for us, happy for them. So many of you talked to me about deciding whether or not to move or figuring out what to do if a season is changing. And I think you're going to really love this conversation with Craig. We're going to talk about transitioning from a good season to a good season, what it looked like for Craig and Hannah to decide to move, making decisions as a single person versus a couple. And then we're going to talk about some advice if you're starting to feel the inkling of a season change. And he has a very fun announcement. So if you're following along in your TSF Seasons guidebook, we are on page 58. And be on the lookout in your inboxes today because we're emailing out the summer pages. Listen, you're going to get them in your inbox, print them out, 3-hole punch them, add them to your notebook, and let's get ready for summer. Okay, if you don't have a copy of your TSF Seasons guidebook, it has got you a page for every episode. It's got fun activities, recipes, resources. It is a great addition to what you're listening to on the podcast. This is the perfect time to jump in. And actually, as we start the new season, you're also going to get winter and spring pages as well. So you can go back to listen to any of those episodes and take notes as well. You can find everything you need to get that at anniefdowns.com/seasons. Now here's my conversation with one of our favorite humans, one of the best dudes I know, our Prince, Craig Thompson.
That sounds fun.
CRAIGLES, official welcome to That Sounds Fun, the podcast.
So good to be here, virtually, albeit. It's fantastic.
Have you been a guest before? No.
I've been a guest on the India Summer. I was a 7.
That's exactly
so I have been
right.
on
Your
that,
7-ness. You have been before in this very seat.
Yes,
as
exactly.
a guest on the show you used to produce hundreds of episodes for.
Lots of episodes for. Very familiar with it.
That's right. Okay, tell us where you are right now. City, home, don't give your address, but talk about how you set up this desk today. Give us a full picture of what's going on.
I am in Carmel, Indiana, which is the city next to where I was born and raised. And I just moved into a house this past Saturday. So I'm 4 days out from moving in. So I have boxes. As you can see around me, it's chaos, but I have a clean white background for right now. So it's nice. But we are in the midst of a move after living in my parents' basement for the past, we being my wife, Hannah, and myself, living in my parents' basement for the last 9 months as we've been trying to purchase and move into this house. So it's crazy.
I can't believe it. Y'all have already been gone from Nashville for 9 months.
Yeah, it's wild. It went by fast. And also I've been living in a basement so slow. It's
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
And,
that makes perfect sense. Okay, you and Hannah, let's back up. You know, what we're hoping to do every season is kind of tell a transition story or talk to someone who is right in the season that we are talking about. And we are going from spring to summer. And in my book, that is from a good season to a good season. You know, I like spring, I like summer. It's just a transition. Is that how you felt? I may be overestimating how you felt about Nashville and Indy. Did it feel like going from Nashville to Carmel?
You know, it's everything is right, except I don't think it's caramel. I will say.
Okay,
great. It's not that.
Carmel.
Yeah.
Did it feel like going from a good place to a good place, or was Nashville not a good place for y'all anymore?
No, Nashville was absolutely a good place and is still a good place. And and my wife, Hannah, still works at Belmont remotely. And so we do a lot of back and forth and are still coming to Nashville. I think it's nuanced in the fact that it's happened over 9 months and there's so much that's been happening in that. But I think the transition specifically from Nashville was beautiful and sweet, and coming into Indy has been really beautiful and sweet. And kind of, I feel like we have two different spaces that have such great benefits for what they both are and what they hold for us. And so I think even now going back to Nashville, like Nashville still has so many sweet things. You guys are there in Nashville. Like I get to come and work out of your office, and that's so fun sometimes. So I think there's no bitterness or like, there's nothing that's like transitioning ugly in that it's just both feel very clean. And yeah, it's been really good to
I
transition.
think people need to hear that story because we don't often get platform stories of a good thing to a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like kind of what seems to go the farthest or is when this was terrible and now this is good.
And now it's better.
Yeah, which is really important to talk about. But from spring to summer, in a lot of ways for me too, is like, well, that was good and so is this.
Yeah. I think for us, it's one of those things that, I think in the midst of things that are good, it's definitely hard, and definitely in the moments of like, we're moving right now and it's very stressful and we're trying to work through a lot of things, but it's also like, it's been so sweet. And it is what we were working so hard for while we were in Nashville is like, oh, one day we want to own a house. And like, so it's so sweet to be there. And also you have the both end of it's like, we're so happy here. And we also do really miss Nashville. And so it's like holding both of those. And so, but it's definitely, that transition, it does feel very like spring to summer where it's like spring is fantastic, but also like summer is great in its own way. So this is like a new fun thing that we have. So that feels like a very unique, I'm more used to the like fall to winter where it's like happy to sad or the other way around. And so this has been a unique, with its own trials and tribulations, this has been a really unique sweet season into another sweet season, which I think God has definitely been working with us in that. So will
you back us all the way up a little bit? I want to talk, we have a lot of people who ask about moving cities, particularly single women talking about like, what if I want to move and how do I move and that kind of vibe. When did you and Hannah start when was the first inkling? Because you had an unbelievable job that was unmatched in the world.
Best, truly.
The best job in the world. Y'all lived here. I mean, you had a good life. You had a church and a community. Hannah has a good job, like you said, that's still here.
Yeah.
What was the first like whispers of, should we leave Nashville?
So for us, I remember we had been married a little over a year and we started having just some of those conversations of being like, we were renting 5 minutes away from your office. It was a perfect situation. It was wonderful. Loved the house we were renting. Everything was fantastic. But we were just like, we're renting and we'd like to own and live in a house. And like the next steps would be to purchase a house. And we are like, we want to have kids one day. And so like, what does that look like? And so those were like the first conversations, the kind of like first moments of being like, okay, what does that look like here in Nashville? Like, how do we do that?
So it's not like someone had a dream in the middle of the night. In this scenario,
and there was
just
epiphany.
Like this calm. Yes, good.
So, but it was. I will say that. So, Hannah says this. I don't remember saying this. We had our first date. For all that you don't know, some of these,
we're doing that.
We're gonna have to get into some of these things about history of Craig that you might not know.
Yes.
So Annie was actually one of the people that set my wife Hannah and I up. I was on a trip to Dollywood to celebrate Annie being a New York Times bestselling author, and so she took us to Dollywood. So I'm on a tour bus being grilled by approximately 1 billion women. No, just there's like 6 of you that were all sitting down and grilling me about women. And Annie's friend, Kelly Kirker, asked me if it was okay if she shared my Instagram and contact information with a friend of hers. And I was like, I had been on dating apps and all these things. And I was like, I have lost all hope and any belief that this is going to work out. So sure, Kelly, whatever you want, I'll go on a blind date. And so at that, she set me up on a blind date with this woman. And then fantastically, it was worked out wonderfully. But on our first date, we went and got drinks. And apparently on our first date, Hannah had asked me something along the lines of like, where do you see yourself? Like, do you think you're going to end up back where you grew up? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll end up back in Indiana, which I don't remember saying. Wow. It was not really on my radar at that point. I guess, I mean, it was something where I knew that a lot of my family had moved back. I'm one of 5 kids. A lot of my family has moved back to be closer together. I have 8 nieces and nephews, 9 nieces and nephews now. And so that was something I knew I wanted to be around family. But apparently that was, for her, that was like, oh, I didn't realize that like, that's like on the table that we're going to have to leave Nashville at some point. And
oh my gosh. So literally her whole dating and start of the marriage, she was like, we'll probably end up in Indy.
I think I think that was always on her radar, which for me, I was like, oh, if we end up in Indy, that's great. But like, I'm not tied to that. Like, it doesn't have to happen.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that I learned after the fact that was something that she was working through that I was like, oh, I didn't know. And she's from Michigan too. So it's like, it's closer to her family in some ways.
Yeah.
But that was, I think there was the discussion of moving, really started that ball rolling of like, okay, what can we afford in Nashville and where do we want to go? We had a friend of ours who we loved their house. It was like over in like Creve Hall area. It was really sweet. It was really where we wanted to be. And we were like, if you ever sell your house, let us know. And we'd like love to get a first chance in on it. And so it was like randomly one Sunday, or maybe it was like the week after we messaged them. They were like, yeah, we're selling our house and we'd love to like, and they were like, here's what we're thinking. And then price point came back and we were like, can we afford to live in Nashville? It was like a whole, then it kind of like, it started that discussion, which we hadn't done a lot of like, what can we afford? Where do we want to live? And so that I think started the ball rolling in our minds of like, if we're going to be here, if we want to have a family here, if we want to buy a house here, if this is our life, like what does that look like financially? What does that look like logistically? Are we going to be away from my parents? Are we going to be away from her parents? It's 5 hours to drive to Indy. So a lot of those things, kind of the moving conversation really escalated a lot of those things. And so
where is God in all of this? Are y'all like, I mean, I love this, Craig, because it's so important for us all to hear stories of like, you have the mind of Christ. Like y'all were just making common sense, good decisions. And you didn't have to have like a voice of God tell you what to do. So where were you and Hannah? What were you saying to God at this point? Where was God at play in all this?
I might do this a couple times. This is bringing me back to another story of you and me. I think in my relationship with God, there's so many times that I really want the burning bush moment, probably for a lot of people, where you want that moment where God comes down from on high and is like, it's the door on the left, now go. And so often it's not that. Especially for me, it's just like, okay, it could be an infinite number of decisions that could be right, and you just need to choose one and pursue it until God closes that door. And so for me, one of the biggest moments that I think back on was actually reaching out to you to get my job with you. It was one of those things that I was like, I was kind of lost in my work at that moment and was just like, I don't know. And my mom has been like, Annie just said on her podcast that she might need a video person, and that would be an interesting thing for her. And I was like, Annie F. Downs does not want to work with me. Why would she do that? And my mom was like, stop getting in your own way and just like try. And I was like, okay, great. I will try this thing. And if it's not meant for me, if God doesn't want me to go this direction, we'll close the door. She won't say anything. And so I DM'd you, and then out of nowhere,
my DMs.
Which is not, I don't recommend people. She's not usually in them. So it was wild that worked out. But it was just, so that was a crazy story. I think that has been, I was thinking of the term Ebenezer. I think it's in like First Samuel where they kind of lay these stones of being like, these are moments of God provision, like where God showed up and moved in big ways because I took a step of faith. I think that's been one for me. I think definitely looking back, I've just realized that was a moment where stepping out in faith and seeing God meet me in such a great way, and all the beautiful things that have come from our relationship and working there and everything, meeting my wife. So I think that has been the thing that I reference back so often. And so I think the conversation, at least the ones that I was having with God in that moment, was being like, I don't know. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know how this works. And I'm going to pursue the thing that I know that I want until you tell me that it's not possible here, or it's going to be something. Or just like, close this door until something else opens up. And so I think that was kind of the first thing. It was like, okay, great. This house is the one that we want. I don't know the price point. I don't know what we can, like how this is going to work, but I'm going to try it. And then that felt like a very closed door. And so that was like, okay, that's something that we understand. What's the next? How do we pivot? What is that? Do we need to look further outside of Nashville? How does this work? And I think that just began opening up more of the conversations, like I was saying before, about kids and everything like that. And I think that just then opened this, I think God kind of opened something in my heart of this stirring of wanting to be back. I had another story that I originally had moved to Nashville. I had an older sister that was here. My older brother was here, and I was living with them. They eventually moved back home. My younger sister was here. She had moved back home. And so a lot of my community had eventually all slowly moved away. And so I was kind of feeling that longing of just being like, I'm missing something here. Work is fantastic, and I don't ever want to leave this. But it's just like, this is a really hard thing.
We know you don't have to say that. I promise.
But I think that's not always the case for a lot of people. They're like, everything else is great, but work's terrible, so let's move somewhere else. No, this was like, that was the thing that I was like, I honestly was wrestling so much with God that I was like, this is so good. So like, how could it be that I should leave? Because I don't want to be the reason to leave something good. And so, but that I think was just, as far as like the beginning steps of the conversation, I think just Hannah and I realizing just that we were starting to have longings to be closer to family, and that we knew the life that we wanted probably wasn't going to work out in the spot that we were at.
Yeah.
And so I think that just began the conversation of like, okay, what does this look like and how could we do this? And me scheming and being like, okay, is this work?
Yeah.
Can I like be here and work? And then can I work here every day? Like work with Annie 5 days a week and then come home on the weekends and come to Indiana? No, but it was just like, yeah, it was one of those that was just, I think that was something that I was just having to start pursuing that with God and me, of being like, I'm going to keep chasing down these doors and you have to close them on me. Cause I'm not going to know specifically, like, if you want to speak to me, that's great. But this also works well, that if you just want to keep closing doors or opening new ones that I haven't seen, I think that's how that has been going.
Tell me ways it is easier to make big decisions like this as a married person, and tell me some ways where it's harder than when you were single.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I was on the Enneagram 7 episode. So as a split, I like to make
just a couple of sevens around here.
I like to make fast decisions, and I like to make them with a lot of thought, but also done quickly. So it's like, here, I've been thinking it through and I've been thinking about it for a little bit of time, but like, let's go now.
Yes. It's probably why I can't marry a 7, because we would probably get married immediately.
Yeah. And I will say, even though I married a 6, we got married pretty fast. So
yeah, you did.
Like within
that's
a year,
true.
less than a year, we were married.
Yeah, that's right.
But I will say Hannah is great in that she is the person who's like, I've been thinking about it a lot, and then we'll make this decision in the next year. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Okay, how do we do that? So I think my impulsive decision is like, I don't feel right. Let's go. And let's just pull the trigger and just move and figure it out. And I think for Hannah and I, it was a lot more of this, like, let's think it through and like, what is the benefit and how do we talk through all these conversations? And I think that was it's really easy to make decisions when you're single, in the ways that it's like no one else is going to contradict you, other than like asking your friends and things like that. For the most part, you can do whatever you want.
You can do it.
And the fallout is going to happen and you'll figure it out.
You'll get the feedback from the people who are wise, and then you actually still get to do whatever you want to do.
You still get to decide. And you get to take the consequences upon yourself and know that it's really mostly going to affect you. And so that was the difference, I think, for us, was just like, especially with a move that was to my hometown with my family. It's definitely closer to her family, but that was a conversation too, that I was like, I in no way want to be the person that's like, you should come join my life and then you'll have nobody.
Wow.
And so that was something we really, really had to talk through. And I think for us, we had a lot of these like really slow, really intentional conversations, and a lot of just reevaluating and being like, are you sure this is what you want? Are we okay? Like, this is going to be hard no matter what. Even if everything goes seamlessly, it's hard. Like all of her friends were in Nashville, and she still is really close with her people in Nashville, and that community is still very much alive and well. And so it's like that balance of like, how do we do this? How does work? How do we do all these things? Yeah. And I think that kind of ties into what we were talking about before, that I was like, all those moments that I was like, I don't know, like this feels like it's harder, and we're having a lot more harder conversations than I thought we were going to have. I think that was moments where a door would open, where it was like, suddenly out of nowhere, Belmont University was like, no, Hannah can go remote. And that was like never an option we even thought was possible. And so it was like, okay, that's weird. Like it had to go up like to her boss's boss to make this happen. And it wasn't something she even asked for. So I was like, okay, this is when things move in ways that we're not expecting or even necessarily asking for. That feels like a sign in some way to like, okay, let's take the next step forward and thinking through this.
What was the timeline between getting back the house, how expensive the house in Creve Hall was, and y'all actually moving? Give us put some timeline on that for us.
I think we started, it was a pretty short timeline in the fact that it was probably over 6 months. It was probably from like January to like, we didn't know we were going to like for sure move until maybe probably June. Yeah. I think that was kind of the process. It was like the first, through our whole marriage, we knew that we wanted to do those things, but the actual realization of like, if we want to buy, here's what this looks like. And if we want to do this with our life, here's what it's going to cost, and here how we figure this out.
Wow.
So that was the first kind of, I think January was the first realization. And then it was kind of something that just like stirred in us through that all through spring and into the summer. And so that was something that we were just trying to work through stuff. Something that I was really passionate about was making sure that I wasn't leaving. If I was going to leave, that I wasn't going to leave you guys in a bad spot. That I really wanted to make sure that we had a good conversation and transition point, or that we even talked through all the options, that it wasn't just like, I think so often it's so easy to be like, here's the decision we made for our life and bye. And I was like, you've been so communicative and being like, how do we talk through this, that we're all understanding that this is a decision that's benefiting all of us, and then we can move from there.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that for a second, Craig, because I mean, behind your back, we honor you so much for how you left. Even though you do wear the brand and we are technically paying you right now for some other things, we still manage to keep you in our back pocket at all times. Yeah. But you and Jenna are just never allowed to fully leave. I'm sure that's probably true for everybody here now, but for sure you and Jenna have tried to leave and come back and tried to leave and come back. So, but you really did an interesting thing that I haven't, as a leader, I haven't experienced before. And as a person who's had a job for 25 years, a couple of different jobs, I haven't ever been invited into the process like that. Because you kind of said, hey, you did this really beautiful job, Craig, of going like, hey, this is what our family needs. How can help me think through what it looks like to transition this job? Is there a job, or do we transition out? Will you talk about what made you decide to bring me and Ashley in to the decision versus getting the decision and then going to your teams?
Yeah, I think I'm going to compliment you here, and you'll have to take it. But I think most of it is that I trusted that you guys wanted what was best for me. There was, I think, so often you're stepping into those situations and it's a negotiation. It's saying, here's what I want, and I want to figure out how to get it from you. And I knew that in there, if I opened up and I was like, here's all the stuff we're struggling through and like really thinking through, and I want to stay here. So how do we make this work? Like, how do we come to an agreement that everyone, because like, I didn't want it to be a situation where it was like, okay, I'm leaving, or you need to do this for me, or whatever it is. I think that was something that I knew that if I presented open and honestly what I was processing through, you guys were going to accommodate in the way of being like, okay, we like you, we like each other, we want the best for everyone. Let's openly discuss what the best situation is moving forward. And so I think that was just, and not everyone gets that opportunity. And so it's a hard thing for me to be able to recommend to everyone, to being like, you should go in months before you're even ready to tell your boss that you're leaving. And like, cause there's people that might just let you go. And I was like, I knew for us that was a situation that I was like, okay, we can talk through it, and we're going to trust each other that we want what's best for each other. And that was hard. We did a lot of back and forth conversations of what we could do and what we wanted to do, but what made sense for work and life and everything. And so I think that was a hard conversation, but it was, I think, again, the messiness of doing things in a group versus doing it on your own. But I think it was a lot more beautiful because we got to work on that together, of saying, what does this look like? And it's, I mean, that we get to still talk and we still get along. And it wasn't something that I was like, hey, I'm moving to Indiana, bye, figure it out. So.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Ritual. With the amount of ads we see and hear all the time on the internet, you're welcome. I know it's hard to decipher which products truly do what they say they do, but Ritual is one that I trust. They're a clean supplement company that has pledged to complete clinical trials on all of its products by 2030, with trials already done for their best-selling products, like their Essential for Women's 18 Plus multivitamin, which is my personal favorite, and their skin hydration supplement, Hyacera. You actually can see all the results of their trials at ritual.com. I love their Essential for Women 18 Plus multivitamin. You just take 2 capsules a day, which have 9 key ingredients, and the capsules feature a delayed release, which means it dissolves later, so it's easier on an empty stomach. And y'all know it has that great minty essence that I love. No more shady business. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 Plus is the multivitamin you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month only at ritual.com/thatsoundsfun. Start Ritual or add Essentials for Women 18 Plus to your subscription today. Again, that's ritual.com/thatsoundsfun for 25% off. And another incredible partner I get to tell you about. This show is sponsored by Wayfair. There's just something about a beautiful outdoor space that is so satisfying. It's like your own backyard oasis. I don't have a backyard, but I do have a porch, and I love spending time out there. Wayfair's got everything you need to level up your outdoor space. They have patio sets and lounge chairs, outdoor bars and hot tubs, fire pits, gazebos, and of course, stringy lights. I love a twinkle light. It's so easy to have a one-stop shop where you can make over your entire space with a resort feel without the resort price tag. Y'all know I love scrolling that Wayfair app. They basically furnish my entire New York apartment. I'm literally sitting in a Wayfair chair right now, and I'm always looking at what they have as I make small updates around here, just like I did with my porch in Nashville recently. Delivery is free, even on the big stuff, and that is a game changer. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Okay, now back to our conversation with Craig.
That sounds fun.
The interesting thing, I would like you to talk to us. You're very wise as a person, and are you even 30 yet? No.
I am 30. I'm going to be 31 in July. So.
Oh, that's right.
Quite old, let me tell you.
You're just an old guy is what I'm trying to say. Will you back me up to whether, is this your parents teaching you? Is this you praying for wisdom? Like you do a really good job of making decisions that are hard decisions in a great way. No one's perfect. I'm not saying you haven't missed here or there, but what is the importance of wisdom to you in changing seasons? Like, do you ask God for it? Do you just trust your own gut? Like, where's wisdom found for you?
Yeah, I think so many things. I think being raised, I think the biggest thing that we really valued growing up was like asking hard questions and
inside your family.
Yeah, I think that was something that was like so often. I feel like there was stuff where it was like my dad would come to the dinner table and be like, I just read this really complicated thing in Exodus today, and I don't know what to make of it. Let's talk about it. And it was like, that's very honest and vulnerable for someone where it's like, we're kids and we also don't know. So to like open it up to your kids for one, but also being willing to like talk about the thing you're wrestling with in your own faith with your family. Sure. And so I think there's that level of like open and honesty about things you're struggling with, but also just like, the ability to ask thoughtful and like good questions really mattered. And so I think that, for me, I think that is a value of mine, but also I think, just usually taking the things that I'm praying through or just the stuff that I'm processing through and just trying to kind of process it with the people that are close. I feel like I've been able to surround myself with people that are amazing and really thoughtful and also wise. And I've been able to give good advice and suggestions. And I think just kind of taking it in and processing it in that same way of being like, I don't know how to express it, but some of it does feel just like a gut thing of being like, oh, that feels right. Like in my heart, whatever you just said actually really resonates with me and the decision we're going to make. Yeah. And so I think, but a lot of it is just that like processing with God, not obviously getting a lot of the like, okay, now do this thing, Craig, but it's the like processing it and letting it go. And there's John Eldredge has a quote in his book about benevolent detachment and the ability to kind of give over the things that it feels too weighty or the things that you can't control and trust that God is going to kind of carry those things with you. And that's, it's anything from the really, really hard stuff of life, but I've also been trying to do a lot more of the like the day-to-day stuff, just like the things that feel overwhelming in the now, being like, I don't know how this is going to work out with me moving and my work and my relationship with my wife and our plans for kids, how all this comes together. And I think there was a lot of that just being like, but I'm going to trust. Today I'm going to trust because none of those answers are going to be given to me today. And so I think that was part of it. It's just being like,
that's so mature for a 7. That is so hard for us to get to where we aren't just thinking about the future all the time.
And just wanting to have answers and wanting to live into the future right now is so hard.
Of course.
And that's, I think, a huge part of being married to Hannah has helped me really plant my feet and being like, no matter how badly I want to do that thing or like look forward to that moment, today really matters. And she especially is feeling what's happening today. So I need to be present with her, but also present with myself and what we're experiencing. Yeah. And so that's really, in a hard way, in a great way, it's been challenging and really taught me to do that better. So that's
you're doing again by moving into a new house, which you did a version of when you left Nashville. But will you kind of talk about like the thing we don't have really happen between spring and summer is this like, here's the day. There is the summer solstice or whatever, but but they kind of flow into each other. Seasons kind of flow. But when you move cities, there is no flow. There is a D-Day. Like, this is the day the truck pulls away from Nashville and we do not have an address here anymore. Yeah. We talk a little bit about like the week before that and the week after that. Talk about the real transition time. What was sad? What was fun? How did you hold all the feelings that happen when there is such a, I mean, I'm not married yet, but I would imagine marriage is the same way, that there's like, it's a transition, of course, but it is like, there is a day where you are suddenly married.
Yeah.
And there is a day where you're suddenly a parent. And there's a day where you don't live in Nashville anymore. What was that? What did that feel like? How'd you hold all that?
Yeah, I think it's a funny comment because I've had that thought so many times, being like, it's so weird that suddenly out of like, you're a single person and then suddenly you're just sleeping next to this person forever. It's like a weird, I've been married almost 3 years and I'm still processing that it's like suddenly one day it's all different. But it was definitely that where I was like, you can prepare only so much. So it was like everything. It was the culmination of not only like our like marriage and being in that house, our first house that we lived in together. So like just the memories of that house and packing up together and trying to get all that stuff done, but also the like mental logistics of everything and being like, get a U-Haul truck, make sure it's all packed properly. Who's going to be here? It's going to be my parents. Okay, I also have work that day. How do we do this? So it's like all that.
Wait,
stuff.
We made you work the day you were moving?
You didn't make me work. I have vacation days.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
I chose to work that day. Guess who?
I didn't know that you were working the day the truck was leaving.
I was working as my parents were loading the truck with Hannah. I'm not a good son. It's fine.
I'm not a good boss.
It's not
dude.
You. I'm sure we had something really important.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
John Eldridge. It was certainly John Eldridge.
Probably, yeah. And we had to be there.
Yeah. Craig.
No, but it was the logistics. That was like the mental load. So it's like all these things are hitting you at once of the like, how is this all going to work? Emotionally, I'm feeling everything at once. We had friends coming over and saying goodbye to us. And it was like, it's all that like, you're so excited about it, but it's also the like, it's kind of like when you're a senior in high school and you're like looking back, even if you hated it, you're like looking back at all the sweet memories of being like, oh, this is Craig. I can't believe I'm leaving this place. Yes. And it's like, we had great memories there. So it makes it even harder. Yes. And so I think for us, it was just like all of that. And then just knowing we were about to, for us, we were leaving and going into my parents' basement. Like it was the unknown. We didn't have a house. Yeah. We were like, here's the things that we wanted for our life, but it was like nothing was set in stone for us. So that was a little scary in its own right that we were like taking a leap of faith in that. But
yeah, because y'all just got up there and then started looking for houses.
Because we tried looking and it just wasn't working. We're like, we need to be in the house. Like we had a couple times it was like, my family was in a house and they were like, it's great. And I was like, I love you, but I can't spend like the next 5 years based off of you thinking it's great. I'm like,
that's right.
Whatever it is.
Right. It's not renting a New York apartment where you can get out in a year. It's like, I own this and I never walked through it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was for us. I was like, it's going to matter. We want to be there and actually walk through it and know. And so, I think that was for us. It was just like, again, I think that was just a trusting in God moment where I was like, I have no idea what this next thing is going to be, but I'm trusting that because all these things lined up for it to be this way, that us stepping away from this thing is not us doing the wrong thing. Yes. And I'll say, 9 months later, I can't say that every single day that we're like, we made the perfect choice and we have no regret. Like, there's still questions of being like, we're in the middle of packing today. I think that over times, Hannah and I have looked at each other and been like, did we do the right thing? Like, this is stressful. Like, home ownership is hard and like everything. And we're building community. Like, we have my family, but we have like trying to make friends here in Carmel and just like all the things that are going into like your first time buying a house. Spoiler alert, we're pregnant and we're gonna have a baby in August. So very exciting. Yeah. So super excited. We're having a baby.
So you're like setting up a nursery.
That was another, not to skip stories, but that was another thing that we were like we figured out that we were pregnant the day before we figured out that we were closing on a house. And that was a stressful moment. And that's when we were like, oh no. And it was like, we've renovated this house. I took out a wall. We redone the kitchen. Like I've spent a lot of time over here doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was all its own thing. And so it's been beautiful and so exciting to be here. And that feels like another like definitive date of like, we've moved in, like we got past that line and it feels so exciting. And now
your personality and my personality can handle that amount of change pretty well. Ooh, like, no new house, new baby, let's party. You're married to a 6. And sweet, lovely, perfect Hannah.
Amazing.
Is for a lot of personality types, including maybe your wives.
Yeah.
That amount of change and that amount of time can feel like a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do y'all walk through that together when your personalities are so different?
and again, I think that's just conversations. It's just processing through. I think the thing that I have had to do a really good job of is realizing that my experience is not her experience, which is good for everyone to remember. So it's like, as I'm unpacking, being like, oh, look at these, like, I didn't realize I left these shoes in this box. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Hannah is feeling the weight of like, everything is in boxes and everything is very unsettled. And she's a person that likes like security and home and like things to be in a way that she can understand them. And so when everything is upended and you're just like trying to process and you're living in a new house, it's just like, So I think that's just been a lot of us having conversations of being like, okay, where are we at? And like, how can we be helpful to each other? And I think just there's even that just trusting in God time there where I'm just like, we're both not fully sure exactly what everything's going to look like. I mean, we're due at the end of August, so we still have like a lot of things. We have to put a nursery together and we have to figure all these things out. And so it's like being pregnant amidst all these things happening. And so, I think my role, at least the role that I've taken here, I think is just being like, how can I be present more than just like thinking about the things that I want to do? Like the porch is going to be the projector room and we're going to set it up and we're going to watch Nashville soccer games on the projector. It's going to be so great. And meanwhile, Hannah's thinking about with the water and is there lead in our water? And I was like, that's totally good. Someone should be thinking about those things. But also,
oh my gosh, I love Hannah so much. Is there lead in our water?
So
Taylor Ann is our other teammate that's a 6. Sure. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure Taylor Ann has wondered about the lead in her water.
Oh, I'm sure she's tested and she's made
I've never one time thought about that.
These are the things that you, as a 7, you really learn that there's a lot of things that are dangerous in the world.
Who knew? We have managed to stay alive without knowing near as much as we should have.
Exactly. Yeah. It's shocking. I don't know how, but you gotta have both. You gotta be able to watch things in the projector, and you also have to be thinking about, okay, is something,
there's a baby coming in that house.
It's just like, and then there's plenty of those moments that I'm like, oh, I'm actually really appreciative that you were thinking about that.
Yes,
I'm going to try to make sure that you're not the only person thinking about that. Like, I have some responsibility in processing and like being there, because it's never fun to be like, you're the fun parent and you're the one who thinks about safety. Like, you got to figure that out.
What was it like renovating the house? Like, what was going on inside of you when you're like, I am changing and building the house that is our first family house with a child?
Yeah, it was really exciting, but it was also like the first 2 months. The joke I kept saying was like, everyone was like, oh, it looks so great. And I was like, the only thing I've done is made it worse. We took out the floors. I took out a wall. The electrical I was like, did all this stuff that I was like, I've effectively made this house.
How do you know to do that?
My dad, we grew up in fixer-uppers when I was growing up, and my dad lives 10 minutes away, and I was living in their basement, so he was coming over for stuff that I was like, YouTube's great. If you there's a place called YouTube, you can look things up. Videos, fantastic.
Weird that I don't know much about YouTube. I know that shocks you.
No, but it's been like, it's fantastic for so many things. I mean, there's definitely stuff that I'm like, electrical to some degree, I'm not going to mess with that. And so,
of course.
But it's been great. Yeah, I mean, so that was really stressful in its own way, that I was like, there was days that I'd walk away and I was like, I spent 7 hours here and I made 0 progress on the thing that I thought I was going to work on. Yeah, exactly. I made it worse. I found a new problem that I have to now solve. And so, and that's still happening. I mean, it's definitely in a better spot. We're still like, there's no baseboards in our house or things like that I'm like slowly got to fix on. But it's also been really great in that I was like, I have learned so much, and it's so satisfying to be like, this is going to be the house that we're going to like live in. And I get to like, I know like the before and after pictures of being like, here's where this kitchen was and here's what it looks like now. And all that stuff is really fun.
It's not very often that you get to put your hands to making the next season you're in.
No,
like there's not much I can do to go into summer, but the same is true in a dating relationship. You're both building something together, and the same is true in a marriage. You're building something together, and you are going to a new season. So you're doing it. You just got to actually do it with the house. Yeah.
Well, it's been so cool to have that definitive thing be the season of spring to summer transition, of being like, we're out. Like the days of frost and all these things, like whatever, like that spring is not really frost, but it's like coming out of that and being like, we get to live into the joys of like living here and it being summer and just the like enjoyment of what that experience is. And we also have this sweet like period of time where it is just going to be the last days of Hannah and I just being Hannah and I, and like figuring out what that looks like, and prepping for baby girl on the way and things. So I think it's been such a really sweet transition moment into that. I'm trying to acknowledge also there are hardships in all of that. We're still trying to
that's what I was about to ask you is tell me about a bad day. Tell me about like a day not where you regretted I mean, not where you necessarily regretted anything, but just a day of like, Nashville was easier. This is way harder. What's a day that was bad where you just laid down at night and were like, that was a hard one?
There's a lot. I think it's just like, especially with just like house stuff. I think we've had this combo of like, and then there's so many factors. I mean, we have house, we have community, we have Hannah being pregnant, we were living in a basement, and work life and everything that's happening with my work and her work. I think it's probably a span of like a week or two in like the last month where it was like work was really hard. Everything at the house was going not where, like, we were having like contractors and stuff come over, and they just like, it wasn't working out, and they weren't doing a good job, or they were like making mistakes. And it was just like, and Hannah was having a really hard time with like, not hard time. Pregnancy's been really good for her. Thankfully, that's been a blessing, but just like being pregnant, it's just like hard.
Yes.
And then I think just like community for us has really been hard, just to be like, how do you build community when you can't like have people over, or like trying to get involved?
Right. Come to my parents' basement.
Yeah. Come on over. It's great. But yeah, I
Mom will
think
make us
like,
pizza rolls.
Yeah. And so, but I think it's, again, goes back to that Ebenezer moment for me of being like, okay, like, amidst this being really, really hard, and I feel like I've made all the wrong decisions, I have to remember back to the moments where I'm like, this lined up for some reason. Like, there's something here that I'm working towards and moving towards. And I think those moments really bring me back. I think I really have to like always reflect back on those, because it's so hard in the midst of really good things. I was thinking about that where I don't know if you've been doing farming metaphors, but I'm living in Indiana, so let's do one.
Yeah.
But like that season of like, we were talking about living in Nashville and how it was like, this is planting season. We're saving. Everything we're doing is towards like, we want to have a kid. We want to have a house, all these things that we're going to do. So like, we might go to less Nashville, like NSC games, or we're going to eat out less or whatever, because we want to like plant in the future. We're planning now for the future.
Yes.
I think even in the middle of harvest, which feels like right now is like a really beautiful harvest season, that's really hard too. You're still having to like stay up late and work and like get the things harvested and working. And so it's like, it's really beautiful. And it's such a good season right now to like see the fruits of our labor of like, literally like a baby coming, and like furniture and the house and everything is really sweet. But we're also working really hard to make that like still come true and make it happen, and just like trying to partner with God in those moments. So I think that's
a verse I want to submit to you, and I want you to reflect on for us, is in Revelation, where it says, the doors the Lord opens, nobody can close, and the doors the Lord closes, nobody can opens. How does a verse like that and a concept like that help you with trusting God in the midst of so much change?
Yeah. It feels really, I think it gives me so much encouragement, because I think there's so often there's so much hemming and hawing about decisions that you can make in life. And I'm like, and I like, as a 7, like, we make fast decisions, but I also like in my mind then spin for a little bit of being like, well, is that right? Or what have I done?
I've already closed that door behind me. Am I sure I went through the right door?
Yeah, exactly. You're playing out every relationship being like, what would have happened if I went that way? Or so it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, I think it's so encouraging for me to be like, great, like, I can't do anything about it now. Like, that door was closed, and I tried pushing on it a little bit and it wasn't opening. So I'm trusting that God closed that door, and I can't open that door. And that the ones that did open, I mean, the job with you that I was like, it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I was thinking, like, if it had been something that I had to do on my own merit, that I was like suddenly going to have this brilliant idea. Like, it was beautiful that God orchestrated it in a way, and that it was like, oh, I trust this path, and I can go there, and I can reach for something that feels unattainable. This house is that too, where I'm like, I think it's just God always has plans that feel way out of my reach. And so knowing that those doors open gives me way more permission to not question, is it right? Or am I qualified to do that thing? Or should I do that? It's just like, I think that's been really pretty, like really beautiful in the way that I can just step into those things with more confidence, knowing that I'm partnered in it with God and not having to be like, I have this journal about my 5-year plan and how everything's going to go according to my will. And I have to like muster my energy every day to be there. Yes. I think that gives me so much encouragement.
Yeah, me too. I feel very, that scripture helps me a lot, because even as seasons change and things change, I just go back to, well, if the Lord's opening this door, nobody can close it.
Yeah.
I can't even make enough mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm submitted to God and I'm walking with God and I've said, I want the life you want for me, I cannot screw this up.
Yeah.
And I need that reminder, and the ability that we have to make such fast decisions. I need the reminder of like, hey, you actually, if God closes the door, he closes the door.
Yeah.
And if he opens the door, he opens the door, and there we go.
and how often I've actually found myself praying for closed doors, of being like, I don't
Yes.
want to spend another minute on this thing if it's not the right thing. I'm like, I don't waste my time with things. Like I want to be
Yes.
chasing the things down that you haven't planned for
Yes.
me. And so I think
Was that true in dating? Did you think that in dating?
Oh, 100%. Partially just because I didn't have the money to keep going on dinner dates. And so I was like, this needs to be decided today. I can't go on 6 more dates. I'm going to be broke. And so no, that was like, it was one of those that I was like,
If you're not the right girl, I got to end this because I have got a budget.
I can't keep buying desserts.
My
for you.
wife budget is not going
Exactly.
to hold. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No,
that's
but
so
it was,
funny,
I think
Craig.
it was one of those things that I was like, yeah, and I always felt so bad. If I was like, if we got 6 dates in and I was like, oh, did I drag this on because I didn't know and now I feel bad and now I've got to break it off or whatever it is. Closing the doors faster made it feel better for everyone. And so it's like the earlier I could know that it was a no or it was a yes made it feel so much better. And so I think that was for me just, I think that's been a prayer that I've had a lot now, being like, if this is a no, tell me now and let's be done with it. And then I will like get a chase. But again, there's like, it's so rare to get an absolute yes that I'm like, okay, well, then I'm going to try chasing after this thing, but then shut it down. Like, I'm going to run towards 6 different directions in the matter of a day. So like, tell me and shut them down quickly so I don't get distracted.
Yeah.
So
that I mean, as everyone's heard for the last 40 minutes, you and I are built very similar. But that is, I mean, for me, the big decisions, especially that will cause a season to shift. So not like my hair color, but like, what city am I going to live in? Who am I dating? Who am I hanging out with? What's the next project we're going to work on? Like all of that stuff. I need the peace of God that comes from knowing He opens and closes doors. And I think 20-year-old Annie was really hopeful for open doors and disappointed with closed ones. And 44-year-old Annie is like, close them. Please close them. Like, I can fling open some doors like a professional. I need you to close the wrong ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's, you realize more and more when you have, like, you have limited time of like the things that you really want to invest your time in. And so it's like, it's so beautiful to be like, that door opened so easily and fantastic. Like, it's like, this feels so right. And I'm going to like give all my energy towards sprinting towards that. And I think it's just like realizing that of like how much better it feels to like chase and down and like go through an open door than it is to feel like you're banging down a door that is. And this metaphor can get really tricky because there's a lot of different discussions of like, there's some doors that are just like closed right now. And so it's like, you got to figure out if you're going to, when it opens, or there's a lot of that kind of stuff. I know I think it was in one of Bob Goff's book about like, if a door is closed, you got to know when it's right to like break it down or something like that. And I was like, that's confusing because I don't know. And I don't want like, if it's God's door, I don't want to break it down. I'm going to get hurt. All that stuff. It's a confusing metaphor, but in that I'm like, I think it's just like, so much for me, it's like a gut feeling of being like, oh, this just feels like we're running in the right mode and we're chasing something that feels right. And just trusting that God is working in the ways to close down things that are not. And this is definitely where I'm at right now feels like an open door, but there's still a lot more questions and a lot of things that we're still wrestling through. And what is 5 years from now looks like and all that kind of stuff.
You'll have a kindergartner. That's what it looks like.
Whoa,
Craig. Whoa, you're going to have a kindergartner. That's what's going to happen in 5 years.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
It'll be fun. It'll be great. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be great. She'll be so cute. It'll be lovely.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation one more time to tell you about one of our incredible partners. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We talk a lot around here about the pressures we face to have it all together, but we sometimes forget that men face those pressures too. It's a real thing to have to pretend to be strong all the time. And the wise men who have come on the podcast, like CRAIGLES, are working hard to not keep all of that to themselves. Guys have to admit they need help too, and BetterHelp is an excellent resource. BetterHelp has over 30,000 licensed therapists, and they've helped more than 5 million people around the world. It's totally online, easy to use, super flexible, and you can hop into a session right from your phone or computer. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. My friends get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/thatsoundsfun. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thatsoundsfun. And one more incredible partner I get to tell you about. Oh, I love KiwiCo. The official first day of summer is coming soon. That's why you got your summer pages. But I know a lot of you have kicked off summer plans already because your kids are out of school. I think the summer is so magical, but I know keeping kids busy can be a challenge. This is why I want you to know about KiwiCo's Summer Adventure Series. Whether you're traveling a lot or just hanging out in the backyard, KiwiCo is bringing fun right to you. And for the first time ever, KiwiCo's rolling it out as a full summer series. Here's how it works. Your kids get 6 hands-on, super fun project kits delivered over 6 weeks. You get to decide the timing. You can either receive all of your summer adventure crates at once or weekly for 6 weeks. We're talking science, art, exploration, all the good stuff. There's this archery set that I'm already planning to save for Big Fam Vacay this summer so I can build it with Sammy and all the kids. They are going to love it. But I don't need to think about getting all the pieces together or Googling instructions of how to make it. KiwiCo does the legwork. So we can just spend quality time tackling projects and learning, and I get to just have fun helping them. KiwiCo has something for everyone, from curious 2-year-olds to teens who are into space, dinosaurs, robotics, all of it. Build the best summer ever with KiwiCo. Get $15 off on your summer adventure series at kiwico.com/thatsoundsfun. That's $15 off your summer adventure series at kiwico.com/thatsoundsfun. And now back to finish up our conversation with CRAIGLES.
That sounds fun.
I mean, so tell us now. I mean, you really are a perfect guest for today because you've just moved into this house and y'all will spend the summer, you and Hannah.
Yeah.
And then when summer ends, here comes baby girl.
Yeah.
And you will
season.
go into a whole new season.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to savor the summer? What are you going to do to really enjoy this next season without skipping all the way ahead to Dadville?
Yeah. It's so easy to skip over that stuff. And I think this is something that I really enjoy about my personality, our personalities. I think the things that people have to work really hard at to find intentional moments of like, let's just like have fun today. I think those are like, oh no, I'm like trying to get everything I can to find those moments. Like, so that's the thing that I'm pursuing the most of. So like, I already have in my mind the things that I want to do. If it's like, oh, it'd be fun to like try to get the projector up and like watch a game or something like that, things like that.
Yeah.
But especially I think for Hannah and I, it's really easy to be like, the responsible thing is we need to keep unpacking and do everything until this house is completely perfect and done. And I was like, we're going to have to set aside and be really intentional to be like, most everything isn't done. And tonight we're going to do a date night and we're just going to like enjoy the thing that we've been spending years of our lives trying to like make happen and just like enjoy the like fruits of our labor and what God has done in our lives. And so I think that's something that's like, we just have to be really intentional about. And I hear this a lot from like married couples with kids of being like, when you're trying to like find time for each other in the midst of like being a parent, like you have to be very intentional to like set aside that time. Like date night matters a lot. And so I think that's kind of the mentality that I'm having right now. Just being like, okay, great. Like we need to find what is date night? Like what is, even though it's like just us and we're just here by ourselves, like how do we find those moments that it's not being overwhelmed by all the things that we have to do or things like that, or like what we have to be prepared for when baby girl comes, but to be like this moment that we've been praying for of like us in this house that we've bought and like all this stuff, like, and like dreaming about it and everything and just like being here and just savoring those moments. I think those, and I love those moments and I'm going to be chasing them down with all I got. So I think it's more just like that conversation with Hannah and try to find the right spot and like when to do it. That's helpful for both of us and not just me running away and trying to do something fun when things need to be done. But I think I'm so excited for those, especially with summer. I'm like, there's so many moments where it's like so much easier to do that in summer than it is in January. So I'm sorry for those of you that are moving in January that I've tried to do this, but it's like, I'm like, it's so beautiful being like, great, let's like grill out or like, let's go to a park or let's do just like enjoy this sweet season that we have. Cause it does feel like a gift to be moved in here, have some time before baby comes and just like be. So it's really sweet.
Craig, if you could go back and talk to Craig and Hannah in December of 23, right before this, like kind of like right before the real conversations are starting. Yeah. Or maybe go to January 24, Craig and Hannah. And at 24, right? Y'all moved last year. because I know there are friends of ours listening who are like starting to feel the inkling of a season change, whether it's a new job they want to go to or someone they want to ask out or getting pregnant. Maybe they just found out they're pregnant, or they're like, yeah, I've been thinking about moving to a different city, or me and my husband have been thinking about moving. How would you encourage the people that are just at like where the dream or the idea is just like a tiny little butterfly in their heart?
Yeah, I think my advice is to pursue it. I think the thing that you're dreaming about, the thing that you're kind of mulling around in your mind that feels scary or feels too big, I think we're talking about trying to pray for closed doors. I think the only way you know whether that's an open door or a closed door is doing something to take action on it. And so I think for us, and that for us, it was the simplest thing of just being like, let's have a conversation as a like married couple about what this means. But I think it's just, what is that next step? What's the next step of figuring out what that thing is? And I think it's whether it is good or bad or easy or hard. I think it's just like you have to figure out if that's the right thing for you. And there's a lot of times that it's going to be no, and that is not the right thing to do. Yeah. But it's so much better to try and figure out if that's right or not now than to mull in it for 6 months and not be sure and be questioning. And so I think that was for us where it was just like, and I say this is a 7 who likes to take action. I think it's just like that is something that I really appreciated. It's just being a.
I think you're right, though. I think a lot of us can sit and think about an idea and never activate any part of it. Yeah. And then you go like, well, scary. Yeah, because it is so scary. But if you will just start by telling someone, like do one thing. I think you're exactly right, Craig. Do one little action toward the thing you're considering. Even if it's just a conversation with your counselor, your spouse, your friend, or if it's like I'm thinking about someone who's thinking about grad school, just like look up the grad schools.
Just look it up. Just look at your budget and see if that's something you can afford, or talk to someone who's doing that job and say, do you like your job? Like it's I think it's just. I think the more you can take steps towards that thing, the more you can figure out if it's right for you. And I think that's every step of that way. I think just praying and being like, I think that was my words with God of being like, I'm taking the next step each time and you tell me if it's not the right one. Like you close it. And so I think just like, and trying to be like conscious and aware and prayerful about hearing God in those moments. So,
so good, Craig. Anything we didn't say that you want to make sure we say, Craigles?
I don't think so. Miss y'all.
You really did it. No, I miss you too. We really miss you. I am so happy for where you are and what you're doing and the work you're getting to put your hands to. But you are missed a lot around these parts. You are a very important part of our team. Yeah. And so just call us when you want to come back. Okay, the last question we always ask. This is actually your 3rd episode, by the way, because we did a Christmas episode where the staff talked about gifts.
Oh, I forgot.
So you are only 2 away from the Hall of Fun, buddy. So
making wow.
Okay, because this show is called That Sounds Fun. Tell me what sounds fun to you, Craigles. The Prince. The
Prince. It's what sounds fun to me is summer. It's the like we've been in the midst of all this all this stuff. They're like just packing and moving and everything, and it's been cold days and warmish days. I'm just for a day of like pure summer. It's a Saturday, and I get a watch a Nashville soccer game on the TV because I don't live in Nashville, and I get to grill hamburgers and find some body of water, whether it be pool or lake, and watch a sunset.
Y'all have a pool?
We don't have a pool, but my families have pools adjacent. So I'm I'm two steps away from pools. Great. And then I'd love to find a lake somewhere. I mean, we have lakes around that I'm like, it'd be fun to just like be on a lake. And just like watch a sunset go down and just like know that you're just like, that's what the day is for. And you're not trying to do anything or be anywhere, just like to really enjoy and be present, I think would be really great. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you for doing this, Craig.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm really grateful. I love you, buddy. I love Hannah. I'm really excited for y'all. That baby girl is going to be spoiled to by us.
She already is.
So, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you guys, isn't he great? Craig is the best. Listen, head over to social media. We've got a post up today with the picture of Craig and some of the quotes. Tell him thank you in that post for being on the show. We love having people on that are living the story of the season we're in. In winter, it was Lindsay Sherbondy, and now here in spring, it's good old Craig, and we are so thankful. In fact, if you enjoy this episode, I think you should go back and listen to episode 952 with Lindsay, or Lindsay Letters, as you may know her. It is such a moving conversation. If you have any questions from this episode, just drop them in the Q&A box on your Spotify app if you're a Spotify listener like me, or send them to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. We'll do our best to answer them there. If you need anything else from me, you know I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the places you need me. That's where you can find me. And I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home. Do something that sounds fun to you. And I will do the same. Listen, today what sounds fun to me, the weather in New York is perfect. I'm going to walk and get a chicken Caesar salad from Linwich. My whole team got to eat there when they were in town, and that's what I'm having for lunch. Y'all have a great week. We will see you back here on Thursday with another episode of Annie and Eddie Keep Talking. We'll see y'all then.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light. When you're down, get you feeling right. Oh man, that sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.